Good afternoon. This is video senior trainer and international master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State session to this intermediate training session. So, in this session, I will continue the topic pawn cover of the king. As I told you, there are king in the center and king is castled on opposite wings or king castled on same side. Any which way, we will try to see where the king suffers because of winning, exposing a diagonal or a file or opponent tries to open up. Let's see. So this is a very three four quickly. I will show some old games neglecting the development and going against the basic principles. Hello, Parma, Tirth Parmar and Kamakshi Vastu. Good afternoon. White has a lead in development. Now, the best is to play d6 or castle quickly, but now he has already burnt the board e5. This is the last chance. He must play d5 now. Though the position already bad, and now it is lost because the knight comes there, and then the position is terrible for him. The simple threat of queen h5 takes. There is no other move queen to e8 than bishop f6 takes. The simple threat of queen g5. Now he pawn into f6, bishop e4, unstoppable checkmate. So he can't take the bishop and he cannot beat the threat of queen to g5. If king h8, bishop e4, then h6 loses to queen h6. So the position is hopeless. This is because simple, of course, a modern player knows that because he did not develop his pieces and went for pawn hunting, he suffered. Okay, लेकिन this is the so-called Punjiani development and attacking center, ignoring the threat, ready to castle. Now you can see that black has completed development, and white is also underdeveloped. Apart from underdevelopment, his king is uncastled. Now castle is not correct because there is immediate attack on the diagonal. After he castles, simply rook b8 is crushed. After rook b8, I think the position rb6 and the sacrifice is come. Now white is hoping to cover up knight f1 and knight e3, and feels he is okay. Now white is trying to cover up, so it is not. He will not get time. rb8. The threat of bishop e5. And if castles, rook b6 and then bb5. So only move. Now the game is lost. Queen and bishop b5 finish. He loses the queen or get mated. Of course, these are very old games and the basic principles lagging behind in development, keeping the king uncastled, not having sense of danger. Once again, the wrong. This is called Sicilian attack, which is bad. The modern theory gives here uh, knight into knight and then e5 with advantage to white. Or nb5 also. No, knight b5 is not good now. castles. Bad e5. Okay. The position white has got the advantage of bishop pair, space, and also open lines. This is not correct. This is not correct to play pawn to f3. What you could have done here? He could have played here, maybe pawn to c4, trying to undermine the center. That was more to the point. Okay, or maybe even king to h1. But this exposing the king. The pawn cover of the king is now weak, and this wins the game now. For example, queen b6 check, and king moves, knight check, picking up the exchange. And after queen b6 check, now king cannot move on queen d4, simple knight into pawn, piece down. Two threats at same time. Queen is attacked and e2 is attacked. So this a small but effective weakening of king position. Sometimes there is no weakness, but piece is hanging, and opponent forces opening of the king position and wins material. For example, okay, I will give you. For example, the modern game I give you. That that Grandmaster Ribli, Sultan Ribli. I, all right, I will let me take it from Mega. And white was none other than class 40 more आएगा class 40 more शेयर हाँ यूट्यूब रे ମୁଁ शेयर କରିଛି ई स्टोरी शेयर ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ here for this it is interzonal somewhere interzonal ended tournament. Game is going very normal course. Wrong move. The move order has been already white has mishandled the position. Now you can see the rook a1 is unprotected, and black takes advantage of this and wins the game. So you will force open the king position of white. And how do you do that? Now the a1 rook is unprotected. So the weakening of the white king position, and he will win material. So the game continued knight into now queen. Now if he plays g3, then queen f6 picks up a piece. And if he plays h3, bishop into h3 is finishing. Now he can't play h3, bishop into h3 will come. And that is very difficult. And if you place g3, weakening the pawn cover, then f3 is unprotected. Queen f6 wins a piece. So player has to be vigilant, or I can show you Larson and Korchman, a similar situation. The king is uncastled in that case. This is I will put that in that file. Black wings. Larson is white and Korchnoi black. I guess it is not this one. Yeah. Now look here, opening the line B3. Simple. He could have simply played pawn takes pawn D4, where we get a symmetrical piece. Or even now direct D4 we get Catalan, Semislav or Catalan. But bad. The hoping that black will take and you will have a good control of center. And suddenly now BB2 is unplayable and black is looking at the F2 point. And what is the threat here? The threat here is pawn to E5. Now E5, knight into E5, queen D4 will pick up a piece. And if you do not take, then E5, E4 will come. Now BB2 is unplayable. BG2. BB2 is unplayable. If you place BB2, pawn takes, only move, then only move. And now it is difficult to defend the pawn. It is difficult because a D3 will allow a bishop check and then rook coming into the game quickly. It's bad. So inferior. So he should have played BB2 now anyway. But in this case, he played here now. He forced E4. Now he wants to open up. Now the position is advantage. So black must take initiative and taking advantage that the knight is not in the correct square to defend the king. Knight on F3 is well placed for defense. Now S2 is not protected. The simple threat is giving is pawn push and taking. And then that file is open with a big initiative. So place now knight. You cannot criticize anyway. It is bad. The idea is to play pawn into pawn and transfer the queen to the king side. The, the intention is to capture and quickly transfer the king against the white king. Tempo. BD2 is E3 is coming. So you have to force to play this up. There is no doubt now. Black has center, open line, and also the knight on E1 is very poorly placed. A clear advantage. Now he should simply retreat the bishop to D6 or E7. Clear advantage. But let me tell you, many times the players are carried away. There is no doubt that black has a clear better game. The pawn on E4 is totally cramping white pieces, and the file is open. So bishop D6 followed by queen to D8. The position is over. After bishop D8, he is preparing to play queen to D8 and C6 and rook in touch 2. Suppose bishop BC3, queen D8, immediate threat is rook H2 is coming. But as I told you, many times players get carried away. They think the already so much advantage. So why not play bishop D2 and pawn to bishop to E3 check? This looks like crossing, but it is a bad move. Simple BD6 was plus. Bad move. Here, this is simply strong. With the idea, the queen coming here and then look into threat. With the idea, the queen check will come. It is hard to meet. This is hard to meet. But instead of that, a great player like Korchnoi commits an error. He goes bishop to D2, which looks very attractive. Now, king H1, and there is nothing. For example, now if you play, there is no check, nothing right now. So after this in c6, I think b4 is winning, or you move the bishop. If you go, suppose you play bishop e3 and then queen c5, all the advantages gone. Now the queen exchange will open up the diagonal for the b2 bishop, and if you play knight c6, you will play knight. I think the initiative of black is beaten back. And white is set right now. Set right. The initiative is lost, but again he makes an error. He makes bad check. Now threat of queen into g3 is difficult to beat. It is error. It's a comedy of error by both players. Such great players and world class players. Okay, I leave this. Go back to the selected games. So white has got a small advantage in center. Now the strategic plan of white, that if he can get e5 break, and the structure is much stronger and also initiative. One of the plan can be bishop f4, rook e1 and e5, bishop f4, or rook e1, bf4, e5. Another plan could be b3, bb2, and aiming for e5 later on. So he plays here. Now this is Alekhine goes for piece play. Here the correct move is castle. When bishop f4, with the idea to play. Okay, pawn is hanging. You can't do, pawn is hanging here. That means you have to do this. You have to do this. Alright. Now in that case, take, you played b7, but then each play only move g7 attack. Thematic e5 punch is coming. It was better to play nd7. It was better nd7 if queen g4, king h8. This was more, stubborn, but he played in the game. Bad move. Rook. Now the threat is knight into e7 and bg5. Threat knight e7. The game is over. The pawn cover of the king is now destroyed. Check. You have to take. King moves, knight fork, a big fork, and if you take, this is to lose queen or get mated. So a player must take care about simple things. Okay, next. Okay, this is not such a great line. The whole point is that now here BB5 is better. BB4 is better. Equality. Simple BB4 you have got, but but okay, it is better to castle. Now black should castle. This is the best move, but bad move. Now the problem has come. You will not able to castle now. Now if you play c6, e6 is coming. Idea, queen g7. Already having problem, and queen f6 will fail to pawn into f7. So he played in the game e6 with the idea. Next move I will play c5 and castle. But that c5 never came on e6. check, and now the simply bishop discover check and pawn check. He has to take queen into and pyani mat, wait with the pawn. So you cannot ignore all these things. Player should play carefully. I think the simplest move, the easiest move here is after knight e5, just castle. There is no problem. Now white has to be very careful. This is called some kind of what we call something like Stafford Gambit. They say something like that, or it comes in Petrov actually. But here this is simply castle because now if you play knight into knight, there is will open. Bishop is open, losing time. So it is not easy. You are missing the knight on f3. The knight is defending on f3. You are missing that and passing initiative to the. Of course, this is not still so dangerous. You can return the pawn by playing b2 and castle and survive. Okay, but this is too much. Let me see chart. Okay. So here, Vienna. You could play here. You can play pawn d5 also. Black can play d5 also, leading to equality. But this is also okay. This is bad. E5 pawn. A tempo. Now this is suffering because now the knight is overloaded to d8 square. Now rook d8 check. The c6 knight is overloaded. Knight into pawn. You can't play knight into. Neither you can play queen into. On queen into, he has got rook check, followed by rook f1 check. So you can't play the knight to knight is also rook check. So he played here h6, which is bad. Now queen into and mate. So these are some silly errors. These are very silly errors. Capablanca, more to the point is NC6. Now NC6 is more stubborn. If C4, knight B4 is C4. Queen C2 is also a good. This is bad. Exposing the king. Here, it is one should avoid such thing. It is possible to play BF5 or possible to play knight into knight. But exposing the king. The pawn cover of the king is exposed. Now this is the problem. There is no easy way to defend it. The knight f6 retreat will be terribly passive. Lost. The position is lost. Rook e8, then rook into rook and queen d5 is coming. And after rook f7, anyway queen d5 is coming. That means he has to leave the exchange as it is. This is terrible. Now simply exchange down for nothing, no compensation. But opponent did not see. He played here rook, allowing queen d4. Queen into queen will lead to checkmate in two moves. Lost. And if you don't exchange queen, then bishop c4 will pick up more material. It is going live. Yeah, it is. All right. Okay. This is fine. So we have got typical isolated pawn position here. Now in IQP, normally lot of tactical opportunity, especially on the E6 and F7 point many times. Now the rooks are connected. F7 point has become weak. Now knight into knight will be unpleasant. If black plays knight into knight, d into e5 gives a clear advantage to white. And after nd5, the position is horrible. Knight into f3. Now king into queen check with complete disaster. After king into queen e6 check and knight d5 will lead to a mating attack. Now bishop g5 loses to knight into queen and over. And if he takes king into check and knight into knight into. Now rc6 trying to attack. Rook into knight check and knight into queen is a check. He will lose the queen back and he will rook down. Lost. And if he plays now any other move, knight e7 with the multiple attack. f7 checkmate, queen g8 checkmate. It's terrible. So you can see one little careless when white pieces are fully centralized and there is a knight on e5 sitting pretty. You have to extremely careful. All right, just a minute, please. Okay. Bye. Idea bishop to c6, then completely taking control of d5. So it looks safe. Real. The threat is now to play knight into f7 and queen into e6. Winning. Or even bishop into e6. So stops that. Everything looks okay. But now the black king's position is bad after knight f7. King into, he will be almost in a mating net. After queen check and the rook lift, he will be in serious trouble. After king takes, queen is 6, he is in serious trouble. The knight is lost and making attack. And after rook into, now the knight is under attack and knight cannot move easily. Finishing. Rook f1 is the threat. He has no time to play bishop into because queen f7 is a check. Only move. But then this finish. Because now rook into c1 is forced and there is no answer to rook c8. This is forced. No answer. Okay, I'm showing you some positions of IQP, not necessarily IQP. It can come on various uh, setups. With the idea rook a d1, rook e1, c2, some pressure. The whole concept of knight to b6 and knight d5 is bad. You need to have the d4 strongly protected. Then only you can have some good operation. Please note that if it is white to play, white can already play knight into f7. Another force. Now the idea, now the position of the knight is firmly sitting on d5. So e5, sorry, f4, f5 will shorten the diagonal. It is important. Now you must activate the diagonal. And this will help. Now this will open up and create a target. Okay, there are other plans. Just Botvinnik showed this plan, but there are other plans also available. For example, you can play rook at e1. That is also a strong. But now the queen is watching the rook. The bishop, the bishop is already in the way, watching the pawn. So because the bishop threat any moment can come. Finish. You cannot take rook f7 because the c8 rook will be hanging. Forced over. Next rd7 and the position is not defendable. You have to protect the c8 rook. rd7. Why not direct rook d7? Anything wrong with rook d7? Okay. If you play rd7, rook c8 is coming. Rook f8. If you play immediately rook, he has a time to break. That is why this is a good move, the forcing move. And now rd7. There is a double attack. There is no rook f8 coming, and my simple threat, you cannot he cannot defend it also. He lose queen or get knighted. Hello Ramakrishna. Unknown attack. With the idea B6, BB7, we have already seen one game, similar concept. Bad move. This is very poorly played. At least, at least he should bring rook to C8 and give a stubborn fight. But bad, bad because this is giving a tempo. Now the pawn covers the king. This move, it looks like it's okay because now bishop is attacked, but white gains a decisive tempo and black has to compromise the castle pawn structure. Queen h5. The only move now h6. So we have now the pawn structure is compromised, especially the pawn on e5 is cramping, a backward pawn on f7. So we should play bishop g3 now. This is very easy. This is very difficult to now defend the position. Unstoppable rook. There are four pieces in attack. Bishop, rook, and queen. Forced. There is no time. There is no time to play king h8, bishop f4, and bishop h6. So no time to play. But then now the point is you must notice that the black queen is unprotected. Please make a note, and the black queen is unprotected, and the queen is watching this. Now you have to capture on f6. Good or bad, you have to take it. Now bf6 loses to queen h6. Only move rook, rook, and now you win with bishop e5. Forced, he is thinking now the bishop is pinned, cannot take. The bishop cannot take the rook because this is hanging. But then it should come with a check. Look into there is no pawn cover. Now king into bishop check and picking up the queen and mating attack first. Here after king into you have a pleasant choice to go for a mating attack or win the queen. All the trouble started with capture on e5. Here trouble started with here. The whole concept is this bad. This is now under fire, and now the cramping, the pawn is cramping, and the rook is against the queen, and then rook is ready to come. Rook is ready to come third rank, and he makes a blunder, finishing the game. All right. So this is the main position, and white has an advantage. Black cannot play b6. bd7 is also not superior. The position is clearly better white because lot of open lines and good center. First thing, the white meets the turn of black knight into knight and exchanging the queen. So he avoids that. One of the idea, the rook is coming now. To curtail that pressure on the diagonal, this, the black king position is gone and this is hopeless. Only move. And now F line will open. NG5, ND6 are the direct threats and he will open up. This will not solve the problem. Now knight in knight, pawn into with the decisive position and and if he plays this, the only move. The threat is now bishop into knight, lost. So, hello Bhavani Padi, Ramakrishna. They say if there is a mating attack or winning the queen, we should take the queen. Yeah, because you are assured of the victory. Yes, Ramakrishna, you take the queen, you are assured of victory. But if you calculate, it is a different matter. For example, Mamedyarov agitated against Bukes. Mamedyarov had initiative, but he agitated. Okay. Hello, Bhavani Padi. Good afternoon. One more game I have selected. Harry Nelson Finsbury was a great player. He was absolutely brilliant player. But in this particular game, Laskar beat him, and it was such a psychological blow to Finsbury, who was a potential world champion. But he never recovered after the loss. White is playing all normal moves. I think this position, objectively White has a good position because he is having more better space and better pawn structure. But I guess this is position now Black double has turned. I think this is a mistake. The position is not so bad. Okay, it is. You have to see this. The idea is good, but now comes a blow, unexpected blow. White could have been successful had he completed the development. Now in this position, instead of playing f4, f5, he should simply complete development. Bishop e2, and after that, the position of white looks little better. Bad move. Blow. F6 is bad. You can't accept that. Now ba3 check, and now bishop check. Rook f2. The game is over. So he cannot accept the rook. Now best was probably e7 and that will survive because after the move he can take it. And now try to run away. Best, but it is in a practical game. Player will not think like this because the king is going in the open and it is very meekly played. But the course, it is all in post-mortem analysis. Now please note that rook a3 comes and there is another rook. After the rook, this rook also enters. This rook also enters. Very strange. Bad move. Necessary because king to go into c5, the rook will join the attack, and king going the same variation. In that case, queen takes, rook have to finish. So only necessary to cut off the queen from the diagonal. Now the link of the queen from d4 must go. The threat on d4. This is psychologically already. I mean, white is demoralized. It was better to play rookie. When bishop into d4, you will surrender. Now the threat is rook check. Now queen c6 means queen e8 check will get rid of the mating hand. And if you play queen a5, then rook check. Now check, check, and a draw is assured. A draw is assured. Bishop into queen check, then queen e8 check, queen e7 check, and a draw. It was difficult. It was all in post-mortem analysis. Difficult to bring rook e1 and find the whole variation. Best was rook e1, but played overprotecting. It is a very natural move, and white loses the sense of danger. Now also rook e1 was coming. The threat is rook check now. Rook c1. After kb1, this would be okay for white still. This would be okay. But he played the mechanical king b2 because it is a psychology. The a3 pawn is protected. There is no queen check is possible. Queen b5 is not possible. Everything looks okay for white. But second time a rook enters. Already we have seen rook a3. Second time the rook enters. Cannot grab that. It is a mating attack. After king into queen a3 check. After king into queen a3 check. It is finishing. Okay. Check. Oh, it makes no difference. Check, 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 and bishop d8 check. Betting bet. This game was such a blow to Pillsbury, who was an absolutely brilliant player. He never recovered. And after 1 year, he died out of heart attack. Very young man. He was only 33, 34. So it has a long impact. But he missed. Rookie one he missed. And it is a lesson that a player should conduct the attack. A player should not do this. He should conduct the attack with a simple. F4 was not good. You have to conduct the attack with a development. Simple this way. This is best. And after that, there is no danger and everything is to the in favor of white. Because the bishop e6 is doing nothing. And now rook d3 will come, rook double will come. Everything is okay. Out of Two games of same style. Let me take you to okay, it's a new Grunfeld. Position is very solid for white. White is little better, slightly better position because the bishop is this bishop is more active compared to the counterpart. This venture bishop has no score, so the bishop has pressure. So black is trying to activate because there is nothing in the diagonal. Here there is nothing, so b6 and you want to occupy the a6 f1 diagonal. Now the pawn is in pin, so good move. Logical. So whenever required, he can play pawn to e6. This is risky and bad. After rook c8, the game is completely. There is no danger. The normal move rook c8. After e6, it is equal. Rook c8, c8 is equal. But this is very risky. These are uncompromising. Now, after rook a d1, white is having an advantage. Now, he should have played rook a d1. Now, putting too much pressure again. Because he has played the rash move. So, the rook a d1, rook a c1 also. Take the five. White stands better. No, he is not correct. I think rook at d1. He is not giving correct analysis. This is not giving correct analysis. After this, e5, rook at d1 is better. Rook at d1. Okay, now what happened? This is in pin. This is in pin, but diagonal is open. But he plays the wrong rook. I would believe still rook at d1 was better. Maybe after this is right time, and the pressure remains. But he psychologically, White thought the knight is in pin. So just come rook f d. Everything looks okay. The point is now in this situation he has weakened f2 point. F2 point. So the pressure he neutralizes. Now knight into f out of blue sudden sacrifice. The only move you can't decline that. Now after knight into rook it is equal. The material is equal. The game should be draw because rook and two pawns are two minor pieces. Already I have discussed this subject. Already I have discussed. But here the king is exposed completely without a guard and too many weak squares and diagonals. You can see that there is S3 square is weak, the black diagonal is weak, G1 D4 diagonal, and even the long diagonal white is very weak. So Caesar thought that he can exploit this instead of taking knight into rook and equal material draw, open the position. Unfortunately, he can't move because the e2 knight will fall. The only check. Now here Grandmaster Rosolimo was commenting on the demo board, and he said that he has nothing after this, and now Black will resign slow because not good compensation for the piece. Since the queen is unable to join the d5 square and everything will be set right, that will consolidate. But just in two moves, the report came that white has resigned. Unexpected blow. Now the queen is entering h3 square with a decisive effect. He resigned. Now he resigned here because after queen f2, he has got queen check, the only move. Queen check, only move, rook check. Queen cannot take it, right? And rook cannot take it. Bishop into. And if you place here, if you place this also loses. Loses to bishop check. Now rook check. Now queen into queen, picking up. This also loses. And after queen d7, if nb d5, this also loses to queen check. Idea bishop check. Lost. Difficult. Now I want to show another game of same style. The white king is completely ripped off by my file. 1973, Tal versus Pasky. No, no, no. Kalnin, not Tilburg. Pasky Tal. I got to keep it. I don't think so. Yeah, not this is the one. Breyer was Pasky's favorite. Royal Opus Breyer system was one of Pasky's pet line. The black pieces are very harmoniously placed. The pawns are free, and in my opinion, this till today, grandmasters have faith in this system. The systematic pressure. The idea now bishop f8 and putting pressure on e4. Everything is theory. Here, d5 is not correct. After d5, c6 and white black against counter. So a4 is a good move. c5. No, I am showing something different. Tallinn game. Tilburg actually. This is also a good game, but I will tell you the Musky. Yeah, this is the one. This is called Leningrad variation. Okay, the players who have successfully employed it: Korchnoi, Spassky, Imman. Now black wants to exploit the absence of black square bishop from the queen side. The threat is to play queen a5, knight e4. He offers a gambit. It is looks like Blumenfeld gambit, but not exactly, because in Blumenfeld gambit BB4 is not there. So black has the center. Threat, if he plays queen c2, knight e4 is coming. And then rook c1 loses to queen into a2. Very well played. Black has now bishop pair, want to recover the pawn, and after pawn into pawn, a pawn is anyway dead pawn in c6. Fantastic. Just for one pawn, so much of activity, control of center, control of open lines, opening the position. What a move. Bishop into c6 loses to pawn into. Now, if you play bishop c6, pawn into c3 and discover attack. So only move castle. Now, this position is not easy because extremely difficult position. But Al has seen far deep, solving all the problem. Now, if you play rook a d1, then knight d4, queen attack, and knight f3 is coming. There is no check. The d8 check is covered by queen, and e6 is also well controlled, no check. And next move, knight into f3. Black has got a big initiative, very big initiative. So, place here, bishop into. He is unable to protect the c6 bishop. Now, that means black will have two bishop against a rook in the open position. Rook, but then bishop c5. Excellently calculated. Next, he will move the king to h8, h7, and everything is up. Supporting. Now he is preparing to double, but then supporting. c6. Rook c1 double fails. Bishop into f2 check. Check. You can't take with the rook, cannot take with the king. Still, rook c1 is not possible. Bishop into check. King into is not possible, and rook into c1. Still, he cannot play. Rook attack. Simple threat of rook to rook discover attack c7 or b6. Mate threat. Terrible. Huh? He can't take with the rook. Rook c1 check is winning a piece up and mating attack. And king into also. The king is exposed like Fisher, Brian Fisher. King g1 will allow queen to d4 check. Now king g1, queen d4 will win because rook f7 check, and king e1, queen to e5 check. Finish. Finish. Now, if you play, there is check, 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 and next movement the rook will join. Finish. What a great game! It is full of calculation, tactics, strategy, everything. And in opening also played energetically. What is called Blumenfeld? Let me show you what is Blumenfeld gambit. The game takes a character of the pawn structure. D4, knight f6, c4, b6, knight f3. This is knight f3, then c5, d5. This is Blumenfeld. Now pawn into pawn, pawn into pawn, pawn into this. Now this is no more popular because for this the simple e3. Now there is not it's not easy. This is protected and you cannot give. He has not. You can imagine the bishop was on b4. If you compare this structure, if you compare this structure, now you compare this one and compare this one. You can see that white has not moved the bishop and he is more solid. If you look at, so we should not take it into a category of Blumenfeld gun. Of course, here you see this is took a character and Spassky and Tal and Brian and Fisher. Once I played one game, very interesting game, and I had two powerful open bishops. The last round of 2000 National League, last round of 2000 National League. I will show where is that 2001. This is the game. Okay, so it's an interesting idea. The queen h3 is not correct because uh, white is expecting that black will castle, but now h5 black has initiated. The threat of ng4 compels him to play. Now undermining the center. Before black needs to buy some time because that opening of the position is bad, so he wants to push the knight away. Now undermine the center. Black has the better because the two files are open and white's pawn structure is on the king side is also not very well. Protecting f7 advance. Now this is a wrong strategy. White is thinking that one pawn up, white is a pawn up. So simple exchange queen, and after that technically winning. Wrong concept. The immediate threat is queen b6. So double the queen b6 is losing to rook into pawn check. Now he has made the threat, but then black must put pressure. Now pawn takes pawn is unplayable. Rook into s3 check is coming. Now queen into queen is no good because the d3 bishop has to move and then initiative for black on e3. So queen takes pawn check. Now it looks like everything is okay, but there comes rook into pawn check. Rook into pawn check. Now king g1, you have bishop c5 check. Only one. Pawn into bishop check. Queen into pawn check. It is black who has got two central pass pawns and expose white king. So the end game is lost after queen c8. Queen into queen, simply unplayable. After queen takes, then bishop takes, and rook f3, pawn e4 is crushing. So only move. You defend s3 now. Check, made threat, lost. Two bishops against a rook, forced, lost, resign. Any question? Yes, 95% grandmaster play Berlin because yes, 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 these are calculated everything. Us, why they play Berlin? I will tell you the psychology. Now in top level, normally they count to score with white, so they are happy to get a draw with black. There are very few players who are not happy with a draw with black pieces, and very few. So they are happy to play Berlin so that it is more or less considered with draws. So that is why it is popular. Not because it is good, but it offers very good drawing chances. They don't mind taking a draw, so they can work out for a win with white pieces. Yeah, okay. That is how they play Berlin. I tried Berlin, a very bad variation, insisted, but I had a bad result. But the variation itself is bad. So nothing wrong with Berlin. Now let me show you one game about open line and exposure of king. Very bad. Where is the real line? Yeah, Asak Petrosian. Not this one. Yeah, yeah. E4 C5. Bad variation. My point is not showing you the opening idea. Now C4 is a good move. C3 is a good move. Anatoly Lane was actually a good endgame player. He was a solid player, but he had a good concept of certain positions in middle game. D4. You can play also B2. White is better. B2 and white stands better. Tempo. This is the first bad. One should not expose the king position. I have told you that Spassky Larsen. One should not expose. Okay, I cannot show you immediate mating threat, mating attack, but because of this, black will suffer. That is why I picked up the game. Now your queen is indirectly watching h5 point. The immediate threat is bishop into d5. So moves. I'm giving you time. Now I'm giving you 2-3 minutes time. Find out how should white play now. A very instructive game. Thank you, Ars. There is no doubt white has superior pawn structure and also center. But how should he continue? Yeah, I'm back. Anybody has found an idea? Hello, hello, Som Patel. Game show, Mazama. Now, how should you play? The point is, now Black is trying to consolidate. His idea is to play G6, BG7 and castle. Then everything looks okay for him. One of his idea is to play G6, BG7 castle. Another idea, he wants to play NG6, BG7 and castle. Then he is fine. Now the plan is simple: NG6, BG7 castle or G6, BG7 castle. After knight to G6, B7 and everything is okay for him. Or G6. If you play now bishop G5, then G6 or Queen C7, knight G6. So both this is refuted. Now simply cast H4. Now the king is stuck. Now he is going to suffer for the exposure of the F5 pawn. Now knight G6 is not playable. After NG6, H5 is crossing. Or G6, anyway H5 will cross. So he has to play Queen C7, H5. Now retreat. Black is looking okay now because he wants to do long castle. But then the F7 square. So he comes rook. The idea, now the rook is ready for operation on the third rank ready made. This line, I'm ready. If you do long castle, apart from knight G5 later on, knight C5 and take the bishop, there is problem. Rook C8. Now if bishop into F3, rook F3. Suppose bishop into F3, rook F3 is white is better. Knight to D4. The threat is now to play knight into F5. He is giving a nasty threat. Knight F5. He has to accept. He must accept pawn into knight. Now rook into G7. The position still looks okay for black because he is able to now digest after king bishop here. How should white play now? White has sacrificed a piece. How should white continue? I give you time. Please think and tell me how should white continue? How should white press the initiative? You are a piece down. Rook is under attack. Good. Good move. H6. H6. Now he cannot accept the bishop into rook. Very well played. Bishop into G7 is unplayable. Bishop G7, Queen check and crossing. King F8 also lose to Queen F5 check. No No hurry. Now the check is not dangerous. Now if you give the check, he is okay after Ng6. So bishop g4 takes check. Now if white plays queen to h7, black is okay. Just a minute. I think the power charger. I have to put the charger on. Now queen h7 is not dangerous. King f7. But instead of taking queen into h7, he plays bishop f6, stopping the check. Number one, queen e5 is controlled, g7 is controlled. Yes, because you see, white has exploited the open lines wonderfully. How to now press? Very simple way. Now you have to join complete development nd2 and knight d4 and nd6. Knight joins the fray, nd queen into pawn, then bishop attack, knight. Idea knight e2, knight e4, knight d2 e4 and cursing. Check. Okay, the threat is knight check. The threat is nd6 check. Gain time on the clock. Basically, not three times draw, gaining time on the clock. Cannot accept that. Lost. Okay, anyway, it is lost position. So it is desperately played, but then finish. Game is over. Very well played game, opening line and punishing. Who is this? When is this? This is 1963. This is called the Steinitz divide. Now the correct move is d4. Now this is not correct. Now the correct move is d4. Okay. So anyway, takes. Now the point is after castle, this is siesta variation. It is difficult. Now he can control this. Now to remove the bishop, of course now you can play rook e1 and bishop c2. But in any case, black has some life. So not a good idea. Exposing the king. Now this is trying to attack, but it is bad. Black has got now you see terrific initiative. The simple threat is rook e8. Now the simple threat is rook d to e8. It's a crossing position. So he must bring rook e1. The pawn exchange that difference. Now the simple threat is queen e7, and it is not defendable. The position is no more defendable. It will not save. It is important now. The position is very good, but finding a plan is not that easy always. What black needs to do first, you must go away the king to a7 so the b file can be used. You can play queen e2, but then where is the progress? So he must bring king to a7 so the b file is accessible to him. Bad move. He should have played here at least b3, not going further. This is bad. Finish. There is no time to take knight. Queen check, queen c3 check, and then betting at check, check, finish. Knight cannot move and mate. But actually, the whole variation is doubtful. Opening is not the thing. Opening is not the thing. Of course, here I can go so make some improvement here. Okay, here the point is black should white should here. If you don't play six, if you don't play six, suppose you play pawn to e. How should white play now? The idea now if bishop into e3, bishop into e3 is bad. H6. Then lot of but e3 is not good because white has a nice move f4. When the knight will go back and everything is fine for white. That is why here he had to play h6, not giving him time. And now anyway it is good. But let me show a game, the c3 f5 line. Very interesting game I'll show you. Fiesta variation. Here, files. Just a minute. Say maybe I will get it this one. No, file. There. Let me see here. Give me a minute. Not there, unfortunately. I have to go to Mega to search it. I need to go to Mega. No other choice. Okay, this is a different line. It is not that D6 line, but independent variation. I was under the impression the same line. Here, need not play knight g5. After the move d4, pawn into pawn, the simply knight into pawn, white has a good game. Simple move. White is little better here. Because on knight into knight, you have queen h5 check. Knight to knight, queen h5, knight f7, queen c5 is there. So this is better, but played this. Intermediary move. Now this exposes the black white king. Knight under attack. Beautifully played by Cavalier. Now knight f3, knight f6 is more or less forced. You have to pick up the piece now. There is nothing. Bishop into e3 is simply bad. Check. Opening line. Positional pawn into and d5. But now the bishop opens up. So this is fantastic. The only move. No other move. Expose king position. And a pawn on the 7th rank already. Just castle, long castle threat. So once he castles, it's over. So only way to exchange queen. This really does not help. But at least you will survive for a longer period. Now the problem, how to defend it. The bishop f3 loses. Bishop f3 will lose. So you can play simply bishop and rook g8. Now you cannot defend that pawn. Now, though white is a piece up, these pawns are looking menacing. This is menacing. This simply is rolling the pawns. Pin. Now we have got white black is a piece down, but he has got good compensation. Now he gives another shocking surprise. Great move. Now black is whole rook down. Whole rook down. The simple threat is pawn f4, f3 and e3. Now king a2 does not help. f4 will come with the idea f3 check. So he plays this with the idea. Now white planning to seal the diagonal. Now white plan, this is the one protecting. So the threat is this. So he wants to do idea, wants to play this and seal the diagonal. Now if f4, pawn b4. If f3, bishop c4. So f4, b4. It appears now black is lost because next move he is going to seal. But then there comes rook. He says you cannot do that. Black is whole rook down. Please don't forget. Now rook into bishop. I think Kavalak Gupad must have fallen from his chair. Takes. Now king a2 loses to f3 check and simply the black king will march forward. Now king a2 f3 check and the king is coming to e5 and f4. It is all over. So the idea is to play. Now he is trying to seal the diagonal like this and like this, sealing the diagonal. Takes better design. What a great game! Can you show Queen C2, C5, DC5? The Nimzo Indian. Yes. Yeah, sure. Right. The master of the variation is Istvan Som. Here, there are mainly two variations. Queen C2 is known as the classical setup, and E3 is the main line. Bishop G5 is not dangerous nowadays. Bishop G5 is not dangerous. After H6, Bishop H4, now C5. You can play like tall style. After D5, pawn B5 is possible. And if you play D5, here you can prepare to play D6, followed by E5, and everything is okay. So Bishop G5 is not dangerous. Now Queen C2 or E3. Now that this pawn is not protected, so black gains at tempo. Black gains at tempo. If knight f3, I will take it. Now pawn into pawn, you can play knight to. If you play pawn into pawn, then you are surrendering the center, and black gets a good game with queen c7, waiting for him to play it. Okay. Now knight f3 will be no problem. After pawn into pawn, queen c7. I am waiting for him to play a3. Then I come back with the idea to play b7, a6, b7, and this would be a blunder. Check is coming. Check is coming. Queen check. So he has to play now, for example, knight f3, knight f3. Then you can play a6, bg5. Then you can come back. This is okay. Or you can play direct bg5 also. This is also no problem. No problem. This is bad. For this easily got a. I think for this turn black got very easy game. Two bishops, good center. Bishop will come back to e7. Everything is okay. So let us see this variation c5 dc queen c7. Don't agree. Okay, I will find out the game of Istvan Som. This one it says no. I don't agree that this will be counting. This is some old theory G3. No, this is not a problem. It's okay. I will not go. This is only theory. I will take you to the player who played it frequently. That is Istvan Som. Queen c2, c5. c5. I will discuss the problem for black also. As I told you, dc5, dc queen c7 is the best answer. This is a very passive approach. White is playing terribly passively. After d6, the bishop is stretched. Then your dark squares. So this is natural to play next d6, b6, hedgehog setup. And hedgehog setup. The c5 point is very well guarded. Already you are having 5 control on c5. So the c5 break is not coming. Enter bb7, rook c8. Black has got an excellent position. The coordination. If you observe in Sicilian Nazareth that Scandinavian setup, Kasparov almost always played the move on the 11th. The main idea is coordination. Now the f8 square is vacant for the knight and bishop. You can play bf8, g6, bg7. Now one of the idea that if necessary, you can this regrouping is possible. Another idea, you can play knight to f8 so that f6 knight is free for operation. I think this is rash. It was better to have played rook a d, rook f to d1 and regroup for rook f e1. But bad. There is no rush. Bishop is not running it. Rook against queen. You don't have time for bishop e2. d5 is coming. Bishop e2. Knight into c4 or d5 only. Minus plus. Position is minus plus. Pair of bishops and the center. Outplayed already. White has been outplayed. Okay, now let me tell you now, for example, let us say this position, he played the bad move before. Let us say he does not weaken the position and player plays more composed way, like something like before. Or maybe he can play here the position he can do b3, waiting. In this case, he play rook to c8. With the idea, now the queen will come back, maintaining the coordination of rooks. Maintaining rooks are coordinated, and eventually he can plan with bishop to c7 and bishops and then pressure on the diagonal. He is going to crack d5. For example, for example, if you play rook d1, queen c7, knight g3, bishop comes, knight comes here, bishop c7. The pressure is maintained. Now e4 this will come, rook against queen. So this is one of the idea. Any question? All right, let me go to another game. Queen c7 is better. I will go to stick to the variation queen c7. Idea is to play d6, b6, and d7, bb7. There is no rush to castle here. This is the ideal setup. As I told you, castle rook e8, queen b8, bad move, bad. Naturally, I'm not going to create a target at e6. This is the defect. If the pawn was on f2, he could have covered up. I think the already white is outplayed. White is outplayed already. It is a Taras formula. The knight is poorly placed. No coordination. The powerful diagonal. Huh? After rook and rook, you will seize the file. So the position I would say minus plus. Pawn n2 is worse. More weaknesses. The end game is bad. The pawn structure is bad for white, and also uncoordinated pieces. Rook and f2 is poorly placed. Necessary to meet queen check. He has to be very careful. He was always losing material. This is almost paralyzed. Virtually, white is paralyzed now. Time to resign. Nothing you can do. So it's a very instructive game, and especially white is a strong GM. So this is a very instructive game. That c7. Any question? Okay. I will not be able to cover the problem for black because of limited time. Now we are running out of time. So I'll do one more game. Then we will cover in the tomorrow's session the problem for black. How to handle white side. How to handle white side. As I told you, bishop f6 is harmless. b7. And now he has covered up. b4 and e5. This is worse. Now the mobility of the bishop. Already black has space in the center, and this is a Taras formula. This is badly placed. So fantastically g5. Now the bishop has no square. At right time h5 h4 can come, or you meet h5 with g5 h6 h4 with h6. A very good feeling for technical play. If h6 h3 h4 coming, or h4 g4 is coming, in advance he is expecting some sort of tactical melee, because the queen is watching the rook. You never know. And also, so in advance, no more weakness. Exchange a pair of rook. His strength is only the deep line. So if one rook is exchanged, the one single rook cannot do any entry. Or protected. The intermediary move, but doesn't matter. Meaning the material is equal, but you can see the white black king is very safe. There is no entry at all for any white piece, and there is a problem also on e3. Black better. I think we are running out of time. So I will discuss the problem for in this variation how white can also work out. Classical. It was I read a book by written by Grandmaster Dulugi. So in that also he had mentioned the problems. So thank you very much, friends, being with me. I'll see you tomorrow same time for more examples on pawn cover of that. Take care, everybody. Bye.